Hello and welcome back. More words between Americans and British. This is 11 words Americans love asking Brits to say. This is by Lost in the Pond, one of his older videos, 5 years old, but it has good views. He's entertaining, he's funny, he's blunt, and he's definitely improved his channel since this video, so keep on at it. So this is going to be interesting. What do we love to ask you to say? I'm not sure. Probably just certain words that we say differently, and since I don't know what we're going to ask, let's just jump into this video and see what it's all about.
Well, to be fair, that is what you get for interbreeding a dog with a cat. So, oh hello, this is Lawrence Brown with Lost in the Pond. Today on this video I'm going to be discussing some of those words that Americans so often get us Brits to say quite a lot. Now, just to be clear, before I go ahead, this is not a video about exclusively British words, but rather words that both Brits and Americans use, but that Americans somehow derive a great deal of humour from when they hear people like me, with my accent, saying them.
And I'll confirm and say anything I can to add to this. Is it true? Is it not true? Maybe I don't, but I know Americans do. I will let you know.
Basically, and any Brit that is watching this that has interacted with an American at any point in time will know this to be true. Americans very, very often like to say something along the lines of, "I wish I could just stick you in the corner and listen to you speak," which is not at all offensive. Now, the first...
Not at all. We do love your accents. I love the accent. I know there's dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of different accents just in the UK alone. I understand that, but yes, in general, we love the accent.
Word up here is squirrel, weirdly enough, and this suggestion comes from Stacy in Salt Spring Island, Canada. The word squirrel, I thought nothing of this pronunciation. I just assumed everybody said it pretty much like I do now. Squirrel.
To me, it does sound weird. I say a squirrel. I've actually said that I think twice in my videos because there's a fence outside that a squirrel always runs, or to run along the top of the fence and then go into our grapefruit tree and just start eating them all. So they're running back and forth all the time, and I do say squirrel. No one's pointed it out yet, but it does sound different, and I'm sure it is said a little different around the UK once again.
Squirrel. And then I realized how Americans say it, and it's more like squirrel, which kind of sounds like you're pronouncing the word squirrel with a bunch of nuts in your mouth, which is what squirrels do, although they don't talk, so that wouldn't make any sense. So, number 2 is mobile, which comes up a lot in conversations about the differences between British and American English, mainly because, of course, Americans use cell phones, British people use mobile phones, but that's not where the differences end. In fact, the main difference here in this particular word is the pronunciation of it, and I think that's why Americans are so ready to hear me say it, because I say mobile, as I said, but Americans, they like to say mobile when referring to things that move or to the phone.
Yeah, your mobile phone. That's what we say here. We don't say mobile, although it's spelled like that, right? So
itself, unless you're down in Alabama where there's a city spelt exactly the same way, pronounced Mobile, and that is why this word makes my brain melt through my nose all the time. True story, a few days ago I put out a video of me in the bath, and one of the comments after that was, "How do you, Lawrence, pronounce the word bath?" Even though they'd just seen the video in which I pronounced the word bath multiple times.
Sounds normal to me.
As you can see, I say it as bath, not too dissimilar in fact to how most Americans would say it. I think they're expecting me to extend the A like a lot of people in the South do, but I'm from the North, and we do things differently in the North. You need to learn that, perhaps, if you care to. And so
I didn't know that.
Watching the look of disappointment on the face of the odd American, sometimes very odd American, as they ask me to pronounce this is heartbreaking in many ways. I don't say bath, I say bath. But I imagine...
Yeah, we don't say it. Like, I don't even want to try it. Bath. We don't say it with the long A. I know I'm not saying it correctly, but we just say bath. Go to the bath. Take a bath. Please take a bath.
Into all the sort of southern British people that get that question, it probably brings an ounce of glee to the American that hears it. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. Speaking of bath, you can't really have a bath without water, unless you're my cats. They do that all the time. And as you heard just there, I pronounce it, of course, water, just like most British people. As I pointed out in my last video, the word water and my pronunciation of it can cause a lot of confusion, actually, particularly for waiters that are serving me, when they'll ask me, you know, what do you want for drink? And I'll say, water. What? Water. What? Water. What? Water. Oh. Would you like lemon or lime with that, sir? But it's the more discerning Americans among you that stop me in the street if you recognize me. Still, nobody does. And you get me to say that very word until I literally cry all of the water out of my body.
Yeah, you pronounce it way more water. You actually pronounce the word. We just kind of jumble the middle. Water. Give me some water. Where's the water? I need a bottle of water. That's, yeah, definitely how we say it here with like a D.
Thankfully, I don't drive, so I don't have to deal with this word all that often, and I don't own my own house, so I don't have an attached garage, as I would say. But you know what? Between you and me, this is actually one of those words that I think actually sounds a little less elegant when the British say it. Garage. I'm going to park the car in the garage. Americans do what Southerners in England do with the word bath. Bath. They extend the A. Garage. It's a mouthful, though, the way they say, isn't it? Because it's like, I'm going to park the car in the garage. Then I'm going to lift up the boot and the bonnet, and I'm going to check the windscreen to make sure that the indicator is working correctly. None of that made sense, but I just wanted to sort of convey what it would sound like if an American started talking about car stuff in British terminology. Ah, the class.
Before we get to tomato, which is also a very common theme here. Tomato, doesn't matter. That's how people say that. Also, hopefully what's in here is aluminium. We will get to that, I hope. But for the last word, yes, garage. How do you like it more? Like, what are you saying? Maybe it's more elegant how we say it? I don't know. I don't know if that's the right way of putting it, but garage or garage? Garage. Both don't. I don't think it's just like a pretty word in general, so I don't know which sounds better to me. But let's see. Tomato.
Classic tomato. You say tomato, I say tomato. Well, it's true, actually, yes. I do say tomato. Funny story, I was in Subway once, and I was ordering a sandwich, which is generally what you do in Subway. I think that the sandwich maker had worked out that I was English very early on in the sandwich making process. Probably actually before I even got to the cheese. But we got further down the line, and apparently the cogs were turning in her head. She knew. She was waiting. She was waiting for the moment that I got to tomato to hear me say it that way. But here's a bit of a twist. I'd been burned so many times on that word here with Americans that I'd actually reverted to saying tomato. Kind of like how with water I had to, I did that with tomato as well. So when it came time to tell her to put the tomato on my sandwich, I disappointed the crap out of her by saying tomato.
She was waiting for that. She
tried to charge me extra. Of course, there's so much more to that song, tomato. There's the second part where it says, you say potato, I say potato. I don't say potato. Who the hell says potato? I don't think anybody in the world says potato.
Tomato. Potato. I've never heard potato before. Never.
Except maybe a kid trying to learn how to say it. Even they wouldn't. That's too complex. That's stupid. Whoever wrote that song needs to really think about their linguistic choices in life. Vitamin is great because this is another one where there's like a couple of differences in there. Firstly, of course, there is the fact that I pronounce the T and most of you guys don't. You guys meaning Americans. I don't mean to generalize you, but I do. But the biggest difference here, of course, is how we pronounce the first I in the word. So as you heard right there, I would say which sounds like an embarrassing sex noise. Whereas Americans would say I. They're obsessed with I, it sounds like. I. And sticking with food-related stuff is the word herb. And as you heard just there, I pronounced it with an H at the beginning because there's an H there. That's probably something you should do. Although, to be fair, this is something that a lot of Americans may not know about us Brits. We often pronounce the word H as H. We put an H on the word H, which there isn't one actually, weirdly enough. This is getting all confusing.
When I was younger, I saw, herb, spelt out, and I always thought it was herb because that's how, like you said, there's an H in there. But then everyone here says herb. So now I say herb. Where are the herbs? I don't know where it came from. I don't know. It's confusing. As we saw in the video I reacted to of English place names and why they're so difficult to say, same thing with just English in general. It's a complicated language.
But it's herb. Herb. Although we don't pronounce the R in herb as Brits either. Unless you're from the West Country. You might then. And you might drop the H. It was a nice herb that I put on my, I don't know, toast. Why would you put herbs on toast? What am I? Next up, right on schedule, is the word schedule. Now, I am often goaded into saying this word for Americans. It's quite embarrassing because not only do they giggle, but they tell me that I'm incorrect. And then I can't really rebut them on that. Because if you look at the word historically, it actually originates from Greek. And typically speaking, a lot of Greek loanwords that begin with SCH, like the word school, are pronounced sk. Schedule in this case, school. Whereas it's words like schmaltz that came from German that get that kind of sh sound. So really, I think Americans, I'll give you this one, you win, but don't get used to it. Remember, you may have won the War of Independence, but we re-invaded you with the Beatles and Harry Potter and David Beckham and everything cool from England. Me, right? And finally, this word probably sums up this little fella who Brilliant. I love so much.
Brilliant?
Is the word brilliant. I don't know why it is, but Americans really like to hear me say brilliant. When I was working...
I think we like hearing British people say brilliant because that's much more in their... I don't know. It's much more common for you all to say brilliant. We don't say brilliant here. Like, it's so rare to hear someone say, it's brilliant. It's never heard of. And then maybe it's just because it's in the movies and you guys don't actually say it a lot. But we always think of people that are living there in the UK say brilliant a lot. Or brill? Is that a thing? Do people say brill over there? But brilliant is, yeah, that's what we think you say. I don't think we really say it too differently at all. But that's my thought process on this.
As a supervisor once here in America for a company, I was presiding over hundreds of workers, and I often said that phrase if they, did a good job. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
and they
that.
would giggle, and then they would come back to me the next day and ask me to say it again and again until we got no work done. It was the most unproductive time of my life. Where are you going, Kat? Oh, okay. Brilliant. But Americans don't really sort of say it any differently, really. I mean, I suppose sometimes they might not pronounce the T at the end. I think they just like the context in which I say it. I have heard Americans start to say it in that context, that something is amazingly good, that it's brilliant. But more often than not, I think Americans use it to mean that someone is brilliant, as in they're quite smart.
That's true. That's
the brilliance about them intellectually. But
yeah, like Tesla was brilliant. Einstein was brilliant. They're genius. It's along the same lines. That's how we use it. We don't say, oh, it's brilliant. It's not like a good day. I don't know. It's different for us how we use it, and that's just very common over here. We don't say it how everyone else says it.
But what I would advise right now, if you're watching this video, even if you just think my cat is cute and nothing else is really grabbing you,
Cat is cute.
Share this video right now with the words, "This is brilliant. This is brilliant."
And what did you think about the list? I thought it was good. There's a lot of words. I recently did a reaction to 50 words, and they just had an American and someone from, I forget where. And they had someone from Britain and someone from America talk about, they came up with the word and they would have the American say it first. And they would kind of laugh, giggle, correct each other, have a little fun argument, and just move on. 50 different words, and I don't think any of these were on that list, so it's brilliant. Overall, let me know what you think. How he kept saying he's from the north and people from the south say things a little differently. Let me know if that's true, and we'll go from there. So thanks for joining, thanks for watching. We'll jump into more of these, how we say things differently. It's fun, it's exciting, and it's so different a lot of times. So until next time, have a good rest of your day.